Technique beats brute force every time!
She's the Shadow Viper. Who is she really?
The heavy thud of combat boots echoed through the cavernous gymnasium at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, like the distant rumble of an approaching storm. Major General Harlan Brooks stood at the front, his imposing frame silhouetted against the harsh glare of overhead lights. Over 150 soldiers from the 101st Airborne Division snapped to attention, their faces a mask of disciplined focus. "I need a volunteer," Brooks bellowed, his voice carrying the weight of decades in command. Silence hung in the air, no hands raised, no eyes met his. His gaze scanned the ranks, landing on a slight figure tucked away in the back row, almost hidden behind the broader shoulders of infantrymen. "You there," he pointed, his finger jabbing like a bayonet. "The one with the clipboard." "Step forward." Maggie Reynolds, the unassuming administrative assistant who'd been shuffling papers in the base's personnel office for the past 7 months, felt her stomach twist. At 5 feet 4 inches and barely 115 pounds, she looked every bit the civilian clerk in her ill-fitting khaki uniform, her thick-rimmed glasses slipping down her nose. She hesitated, but orders were orders. As she emerged from the formation, whispers rippled through the troop's pitying glances, a few smirks. This was going to be quick, they thought. Brutal, but quick. Brooks smirked, turning to his right-hand man, Sergeant Major Ellis Grant. "Today, we're drilling down on close-quarters combat. Size matters, gentlemen and ladies, but technique seals the deal against an inferior foe." He stripped off his jacket, revealing a physique sculpted by years of PT and deployments. Maggie stood there, fidgeting with her glasses, her posture screaming vulnerability. But as the general circled her, something shifted in her stance, subtle, like a shadow lengthening at dusk. Her feet planted shoulder-width apart, weight balanced on her toes. Most missed it, but one veteran in the front row narrowed his eyes. "That form. It's too clean," he muttered to his buddy. The general launched into his lecture, using Maggie as his living dummy. "First rule, exploit your advantages." He demonstrated a slow-motion chokehold, his massive hand clamping onto her collar. She winced or seemed to tow her voice a whisper. "Sir, that hurts." Brooks released her with a chuckle. "Pain is the point in a fight, Reynolds. The enemy won't hand you a pillow." The crowd nodded, phones discreetly emerging to capture what promised to be a viral lesson in dominance. Grant hovered nearby, bandaging kit at the ready, whispering to a medic, "This'll be over in seconds." Poor kid. But as Brooks geared up for the real demo, Maggie's eyes sharpened behind those lenses. She adjusted a sleek fitness tracker on her wrist, not your average smartwatch, but a high-tech biometric device from her old life, monitoring vitals with precision honed for Black Ops missions. Her heart rate spiked on purpose, feeding the illusion of fear. "Ready?" Brooks barked, dropping into a fighter's crouch. Maggie mirrored him clumsily, arms flailing like a novice. Laughter echoed from the ranks. He threw a telegraphed right hook at half speed, meant to impress. Maggie sidestepped with effortless grace, the punch whistling past her ear. The room hushed. "Beginner's luck," Brooks growled, his cheeks flushing. Without pause, he unleashed a full-speed barrage. Jab, uppercut, cross. Maggie flowed like smoke, ducking, weaving, her footwork a dance of calculated evasion. "Range control," she breathed, the term slipping out. Grant's brow furrowed. That wasn't clerk lingo. Murmurs grew. How'd she do that? No way. Enraged, Brooks charged for a takedown, his 220 pounds barreling like a freight train. Maggie sprawled back, hips dropping, hands shoving his shoulders to kill the momentum. In the scramble, her collar shifted, revealing a faded tattoo on her neck, a coiled serpent entwined with eagle wings. Grant's face Paletti'd seen that ink during a classified briefing years ago. "No, it can't be," he stammered. That symbol belonged to legends from the Army's elite Delta Force, operators who vanished into myths after missions that never officially happened. Brooks grappled her in a clinch, arms locking around her waist. Big mistake. Maggie's facade shattered, trembling ceased. Her gaze turned icy. She spotted a medical alert bracelet on her other wrist, another relic, encrypted with emergency protocols for field extractions. In a blur, she twisted free with an arm drag, slipping behind him. Securing a waist lock, She hoisted him skyward, pure leverage over brute force, and slammed him down. The impact boomed like thunder. Before he could gasp, she mounted him, knees pinning his arms in a textbook ground-and-pound setup. "Get off!" Brooks roared, bucking wildly. Maggie transitioned seamlessly to a joint lock, hyperextending his elbow. Pain lanced through him. He howled. "Tap out, sir!" Grant yelled, rushing in. "She's the Shadow Viper Delta Force Ghost." The name exploded through the gym like a grenade. Phones switched from recording to frantic searches. Shadow Viper Delta Force. Results poured intals of a female operator who'd infiltrated enemy lines in Afghanistan, neutralized high-value targets with surgical strikes, then disappeared after a botched op that scarred her soul. Maggie released the hold just short of snapping bone, standing fluidly. She doffed her glasses, perfect vision all along, and fixed Brooks with a steady stare. "You've been here 7 months, General, but you never glance at the admin files, do you? Too busy bullying the weak ones." She rolled up a sleeve, exposing a lattice of scars, knife wounds from close calls in dusty caves, a long gash from Kandahar in 2017. This one? Ambush in a mountain pass. He had a blade. I had resolve. The gym fell silent, save for the whir of AC vents and Brooks's ragged breaths. He'd spent 35 years drilling troops, but she'd lived the fire, dozens of ops, 0 failures, until that one betrayal. Grant lowered his phone, hands trembling. This wasn't just any vet. This was the Viper, trainer of Tier 1 units, whisperer of tactics that turned grunts into phantoms. The doors swung open with a crash. Colonel Nathan Hale marched in, tablet in hand, his face a stone mask. He took in the scene. Brooks cradling his arm on the mat, Maggie poised like a sentinel, troops agape. "At ease," Hale commanded. He approached Maggie cautiously, stopping at arm's length, a reflex from his own Ranger days. "Ms. Reynolds. Or should I say Captain Lydia Kane?" Maggie's jaw tightened. "That name's buried, Colonel. I'm just Maggie now." Brooks staggered up, spitting fury. "This is a setup. You planted a pro to humiliate me." Hale's eyes flashed. "You did that yourself, General. We've got 3 months of reports on your demos, picking on the smallest, the newest, the women. HR's file is thick." He played a hidden video, clips of Brooks manhandling trainees, bruises left unaddressed. The truth hit like a sucker punch. This wasn't random. It was an orchestrated sting to expose his toxic methods. Hale turned to the troops. "I needed proof." Ms. Reynolds volunteered, though I didn't expect such a masterclass. Maggie shrugged. "He called for a volunteer. I stepped up." Snickers broke the tension, but Brooks's glare silenced them. His empire of intimidation crumbled. "You're a fraud." Brooks snarled. "Arrest her for false identity." But Master Sergeant Carla Diaz stepped forward, a no-nonsense vet from logistics. "I vetted her myself. Maggie Reynolds, born in Omaha, Nebraska. Served with Delta before retiring stateside. Not her fault you skimmed her file." More voices joined, especially the women who'd suffered Brooks's lessons. Private First Class Lisa Moreno, nursing a recent sprain, flanked Maggie. "She's been running off-duty self-defense classes. Real stuff blocks. Escape's not your showboating." "Unauthorized." Brooks barked. Hale cut in. "With my blessing. I've watched those sessions. She's boosted our readiness more than your ego trips ever did." The blows kept landing. Revelations of improved morale, fewer injuries, tactics that empowered the overlooked. Maggie observed it all with quiet detachment, knowing power often imploded from arrogance. Grant, still reeling, asked the question on everyone's mind. "If you're the Viper, why hide here? Last I heard, you were schooling SEALs and ghost ops." Maggie's face shadowed. "Some battles leave you empty, Sergeant. I needed quiet paperwork, routine, a chance to heal." She touched her side instinctively, where shrapnel scars throbbed in memory. "From what?" A voice piped up. "From the weight of it all," she said, her tone brooking no further probes. Hale addressed Brooks. "Transfer to a desk job, no troops under your face a full inquiry." "Your call." Brooks's face twisted in defeat. "Transfer," he muttered, limping out, his once mighty presence reduced to a whisper. Turning to Maggie, Hale made his pitch. "Head instructor for our combatives program. Revamp it all, focus on smarts over size." She pondered, scanning the eager faces around her. These soldiers deserved better than bluster. 3 terms. I stay admin officially love the filing. Integrate real urban warfare drills, not diluted basics. And everyone trains equal no splitting by sex or build. Fights don't discriminate. Deal, Hale said, shaking her hand. The gym buzzed with excitement, women clustering around Maggie, begging for session details, men nodding respect. But amid the thrill, Maggie's phone vibrated. An unknown number, no caller ID. She slipped away, answering in a hushed tone. Viper, a gravelly voice said, laced with a DC accent. We've been searching. I'm out, she replied firmly. 5 years ago I walked. The voice pressed, Khaled's back. The one who set the trap. Her breath caught Khaled, the warlord whose intel betrayal wiped out her team in the Hindu Kush. The ghost she'd fled. Train a new squad, the caller urged. 1 month. No field work. I'll consider it, she said, hanging up. The past clawed at her, but Fort Campbell felt like home now, building skills, not burying bodies. The afternoon blurred into planning. Maggie consulting on new curricula, troops sharing stories of Brooks's injustices. Debate sparked, was his bullying systemic, rooted in outdated machismo? Some defended tradition, others railed against the unfairness, how size and rank masked incompetence. Tensions rose in heated exchanges. It's survival of the fittest, one argued. No, it's abuse disguised as training, countered another. Maggie mediated, her presence a catalyst for raw, uncomfortable discussions on power dynamics in the ranks. That evening, alone in the gym, Hale approached. That call old ghosts. She nodded. If you need leave, it's yours. No strings. Grateful, she replied. I chose peace over the grind. Won't regress. But as he left, she lingered on the mat, replaying the takedown. For those seconds, she'd been the Viper again, alive, unyielding. Her phone buzzed, a text, awaiting response. She deleted it, focusing on tomorrow's drills. But Fort Campbell buzzed overnight, social media ablaze with the Viper's unmasking, Brooks's fall. Troops eyed her with awe, whispering about her scars, her legend. Grant noticed her vigilance, frequent phone checks, scanning entrances, hand drifting to old wounds. In her evening class, Moreno asked point blank, "You're going, aren't you?" Maggie paused mid-demo. Maybe. Old debts. The women trained harder, sensing urgency. Her phone rang again. She ignored it. But denial cracked that night in her modest off-base apartment. From a hidden safe, she retrieved relics, a faded passport as Captain Kane, dog tags, a photo of her Unit 10 brothers and sisters in arms, all lost to Khaled's treachery. Laughter frozen in time, before the explosion that stole them. The phone persisted. She answered, 1 month. Training only. Then I'm gone for good. Agreed. Will's up tomorrow. My way, she insisted. A knock interrupted Grant, with coffee. Rough night. They talked him, offering support, her weighing duty against serenity. You've changed lives here, he said. Earned your peace. Alone again, an encrypted file arrived. Khaled's face, smirking in recent surveillance. The hook set. Some vendettas demanded closure. The next day, Maggie briefed Hale. Short leave, old business. He nodded, no questions. She trained one last session, pouring knowledge into her students. Then, boarding a civilian flight to Virginia for the rendezvous, she felt the pull. In a secure facility, she molded raw recruits into shadows, her techniques razor-sharp. Debates flared their turbulence, necessity versus its toll, injustice in asymmetric wars. Trainees clashed. Ends justify means. At what cost to the soul? 1 month stretched to 6 weeks as intel on Khaled sharpened. Maggie resisted ops, but when a strike window opened, her sense of justice overrode. Leading from afar, she orchestrated his capturing and lethal, by the book. Interrogation yielded closure. Apologies meaningless, but chains on his wrists avenged her fallen. Returning to Fort Campbell, Maggie resumed her desk, her classes enhanced. Brooks faded into obscurity. The program thrived under her quiet guidance. She married the Viper and the Clerk, teaching survival without succumbing to darkness. Peace, hard won, settled in. What do you think, readers? Have you faced bullying or injustice from those in power, perhaps in the workplace or community? Share your stories in the comments, especially on violence and unfairness in everyday life. Take a stand. Is technique over brute force the real equalizer? or does size still rule in conflicts? Express your views. Let's discuss.